La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Are you kidding me? Social contract. It is a place that we get to know. Everybody wants to be that person. Ye that person. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. La, 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 la. Yeah, eh, eh, eh. Ooh, go down, go deep. Oh, 开播时间还有90天，哇！Okay, well, interesting. For some reason, for some reason, that Douyin just banned me for 90 days. Damn. So I think need to get to the other four platforms. And there's a there we go. Okay, before we read the social contract, I am going to share. I'm going to read the Universal Declaration of Human Universal Declaration of Human Beings, Human Rights, right? Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Preamble. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law. Okay, well, so here we have a few words that we want to learn. Outraged.
Outraged.
Outraged. Okay, outraged is something 使震怒. Outraged. 震怒. Outraged. If you're outraged by something, it makes you extremely angry and shocked. Outraged. Okay. So there is this word, and then have recourse. And also there is a word called recourse. Recourse. If you achieve something without recourse to a particular course of action, you succeed without carrying out that action. Interesting. To have
Recourse.
to have recourse to a particular course of action means to have to do that action in order to achieve something. 依靠 recourse. Very interesting. Resort. Act of turning to for assistance. Recourse. Whereas it is essential if man is not to be compelled to have recourse as a last resort to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law. Whereas it is essential to promote the development of friendly relations between nations. Whereas the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of man and woman, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life in large freedom. Mhm. Large freedom, yeah. Whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Whereas a common understanding of these rights and freedom is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Ah. Now, therefore, the General Assembly. Okay, here we have the word pledge.
Pledge.
When someone makes a pledge, they make a serious promise that they will do something. Pledge. I pledge to step up. Pledge to allegiance. Pledge to allegiance. Right? There are pledge. The meeting ended with a pledge to step up cooperation between the 6 states of the region. The communist, the communists have pledged to support the opposition's motion. Pledge. If you pledge a sum of money to an organization or activity, you promise to pay that amount of money to it at a particular time or over a particular period. Pledge. Hmm. Pledge is also none. A pledge of 42 million. Pledge yourself to something. You commit yourself to following a particular course of action or to support a particular person, group, or idea. 保证 pledge. The president pledged himself to increase tax for the rich. Pledge. All right, let's get back to the word. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this universal declaration of human rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the people of territories under their jurisdiction. Okay, so all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act toward one another in a spirit of brotherhood. What a beautiful word. Endured with reason. Here we go. We have a very important word, endued.
Endowed.
Endowed. Okay. If you say someone is endowed with a particular desirable ability, characteristic, or possession, when they have it by chance or by birth, 天生富裕. You are endowed with wealth, good health, and a lively intellect. 你天生富有财富、健康和敏锐的智力。A lively intellect. You are endowed. Endowed.
Endowed.
Endowed. Interesting. 因为 Dow is like the Dow, right? Endowed, it means you're in Dow, you're on the road. Endowed. Very interesting word. This is very interesting. If someone endows an institution, scholarship, or project, they provide a large amount of money that will produce the income needed to pay for it. 资助 endowed. Oh, there are another way of using this word, which is 资助富裕. If you endow something with a particular feature or quality, you provide it with that feature or quality provided. 富裕. Herbs have been used Herbs have been used for centuries to endow a whole range of food with subtle flavors. 赋予各种食物，赋予各种食物细腻的味道，细腻的味道。Wow, wow. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another spirit in a spirit of brotherhood. In a spirit of brotherhood. Very interesting. Brotherhood. Ah, okay. Well, here let's come to the second part. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political, or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international statutes of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non self governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. Hmm. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. 生命、自由和人身权. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of person. Security of person. Very interesting. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Hmm. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. 人人在任何地方有权被承认在法律前的人格。嗯，as a person before the law, all are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. All are entitled to equal protection against any discrimination in violation of this declaration and against any incitement to such discrimination. Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent tribunal, national tribunal for acts violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary arrest, detention, or exile. Everyone is entitled in full equality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal in the determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him. Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proved guilty according to law in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. No one shall be held guilty of any penal offense, on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense. Omission. Any act or omission. Omission. What is omission? Do you know? I don't know. Omission means an omission is something that has not been included or has not been done either deliberately or accidentally. Hmm. Either deliberately or accidentally omitted. He was surprised by his wife's omission from the guest list. Omission, which did not constitute a penal offense under national or international law at the time when it was committed, nor shall a heavier, no, nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time the penal offense was committed. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor to attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. Everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the border of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to his country. Mm. Everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. asylum from persecution. The right may not be invoked in the case of persecutions genuinely arising from non political crimes or from acts contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. United Nations. Everyone has the right to a nationality. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality, nor denied the right to change his nationality. Yeah. Men and women of full age without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and to found a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and at its dissolution. Marriage shall be entered into only with the free and full consent of the intending spouses. The family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change his religion or belief, and freedom either alone or in community with others and in public or private to manifest his religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. Worship and observance. What are you doing here? The word observance. The observance of something such as a law or custom is the practice of obeying or following it.
Observance.
Observance. So it's different from observe. Exactly. Observe. Okay. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and idea through any media and regardless of frontiers. Interesting. Well, frontiers. 人人有权享有主张和发表意见的自由。此项权利包括持有、主张而不受干涉的自由和通过任何媒介和不论国界需求接受和传递信息和思想的自由。Really? Article 20. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. 人人有直接或间接自由选择的代表、参与、治理本国的权利。Is it? 人人有权享有和平集会和结社的自由。任何人不得迫使隶属于某一团体。Interesting. Interesting. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, directly or through freely chosen representatives. Everyone has the right to equal access to public service in his country. The will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of government. This will shall be expressed in periodic and genuine elections which shall be by universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. Very interesting 啊！人民的意志是政府权力的基础，这一意志应以定期的和真正的选举予以表现，而选举应依据普遍和平和普遍和平等的投票权，并以不记名投票或相当的自由投票程序进行。Suffrage. What is suffrage, my friend? Well. Suffrage.
Suffrage.
Is the right of people to vote for a government or national leader. The women's suffrage movement. Really? Suffrage. 我一直以为是 suffering，没想到 suffrage 居然是选举权。Oh my God. A legal right guaranteed by the 15th Amendment to the United States Constitution, guaranteed to women by the 19th Amendment. 15th Amendment and 19th Amendment. Suffrage, vote, right to vote, suffrage. Very interesting.
Suffrage.
Interesting. Okay, well, suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedures. And Article 22, everyone as a member of society has the right to social security and is entitled to realization through national effort and international cooperation and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state. Of the economic, social, and cultural rights indispensable for his dignity and the free development of his personality. What does that mean? 每个人作为社会的一员，有权享受社会保障，并有权享受他的个人尊严和人格的自由发展所必须的经济、社会和文化方面各种权利的实现。这种实现是通过国家努力和国际合作，并依照各国的组织和资源情况。You see that? That is the very important fact that equal suffrage. Article 23, everyone has the right to work to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions of work, and to protection against unemployment. Everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work. Everyone who works has the right to just and favorable remuneration, ensuring for himself and his family an existence worthy of human dignity and supplemented if necessary by other means of social protection. Everyone has the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his interests. form and join trade unions. Everyone has the right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours and periodic holidays with pay. Everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the for the health and well-being of himself and of his family, including food, clothing, housing, and medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to secure in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond his control. Motherhood and childhood are entitled to special care and assistance. All children, whether born in or out of wedlock, shall enjoy the same social protection. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Education shall be directed to the full development of the human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. It shall promote understanding, tolerance, and friendship among all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further the activities of the United Nations for the maintenance of peace. Parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children. Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interest resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interest resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. 人人都由于他所创作的对由于他所创作的任何科学、文学或美术作品而产生的精神和物质的利益，受有享受保护的权利。Everyone has the right Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. 人人有权要求一种社会的和国际的秩序，在这种秩序中，本宣言所载的权利和自由能获得充分实现。哇，第28条。Now the 29条 Everyone has duties to the community in which along the free and full development of his personality is possible. In the exercise of his right and freedom, everyone shall be subjected only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of security, due recognition, and respect for the rights and freedom of others, and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in the democratic society. These rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. 这些权利和自由的行使，无论在任何情形下，均不得违背联合国的宗旨和原则。What does that mean? Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. 本宣言的任何条文不得解释为默许任何国家、集体或个人有权进行任何旨在破坏本宣言所载的任何权利和自由的活动或行为。You know, this is the Declaration of Human Rights that was, I believe, made right after the Second World War, I believe. Is that it? Isn't it? I think we can go find out if we are keen to know. Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Roy. Now we are going to get to know that. That was 10 years ago. Everyone has the right. Eleanor Roosevelt and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Interesting. Let's take a look. We didn't know what how it come from. Right. Foundation of foundation of that. Mm-hmm. 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 Everyone has the right. Wait. PC Chang. Every everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. That is a very strong article. Everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Like brothers, in a spirit of brotherhood. Like brothers in a spirit of brotherhood. In a spirit of brotherhood. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion, freedom of opinion and expression. You see, that's when opinion comes in so important, that everybody has the freedom of opinion and expression. That there are two different things. One is opinion, and it is within you. You don't have to say it out loud. You can have the opinion. But expression is to let someone else know your opinion. That is the expression, right? The freedom to opinion and expression is very important for every member of the human being. Are abstinations. Abstinations? What is abstinations? Abstinations 48. Abstinence. Abstination. 弃权. Wow. There were 56. Interesting. That is a very interesting number. 56 nations. There were 56 nations in the United Nations, and like in 70, 80 years ago, right after the Second World War, there were 56 nations, and eight nations gave up their. Everyone has the Everyone has the right to seek asylum from persecution. Persecution. Asylum from persecution. So we have persecution. Persecution.
Persecution.
由于有指因种族、宗教或政治信仰而进行的迫害 persecution persecution wow is cruel and unfair treatment of a person or group, especially because of their religious or political belief or their race. Persecution. Wow. Wow. Can you can you make sense of persecution? Can you make sense? Like the persecution, right? Of can you make sense? Can you make sense of persecution? You cannot. Or maybe you can with the barbarian mindset. Maybe you can. But here we are. Everyone has the we. Eleanor Roosevelt, human rights. Everyone has the right. Eleanor Roosevelt and the Universal Declaration. Delegate of the United States. Why is she a big deal? Why is she a big deal? Well, because she's the one to put it together. She was the committee. Oh, who's this? All right. As we can see, people, Eleanor Roosevelt. If you don't know the story of the Roosevelt story conversation, then probably. I just saw that video. There you go. From the preamble of the Declaration, recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Peace in the world, baby. Peace in the world. We want peace. We want freedom. We want justice. And freedom, justice, justice, justice. Hmm. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. My friend, if you haven't know that, I think no, it's time to know. What are the universal human rights? Hmm. What is the Declaration of Human Rights? 70. Universal Declaration of Human social and economic cultural life. Everywhere after devastating global warming. First Lady of the United States, Roosevelt, Eleanor, Franklin Roosevelt. Interesting. The Declaration of Human Rights. Okay. Well, human rights in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. True. You know what? Uh, Roosevelt. Okay, so that's she's the first lady. She's the first lady, and which makes her, I guess, very powerful in a way, but because of her status. But we have to say that UN Human Rights Council, five things to know, is a very important thing that we should know. Consoles on foreign relations. Interesting. Okay. Well, you know, I think this is part of the thing that we have to catch up. That there are a lot of things that we didn't had no idea. For example, the UN's Human Rights Council, and that wasn't working for a long time, and also the this human rights Declaration of Human Rights is it's really hard to be bombed. Hard to be bombed. What are you talking about, man? I am talking about boom. I am talking about that we could be la da ba da da da. All right. With that being said, we just read the Declaration, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I think it should be a daily read for a lot of people. And with that being said, we have some other works we need to read. For example, the you know the so la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Industrial society. Social contract. Rousseau. Social contract. There you go. 1762. Rousseau. Social contract. I think we need to make a thing, which was the there was this there was this thing I had to say. Uh, I had to say, I had to say, yeah, 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 yeah. I had to say, you heard, you must be kidding. We have to say that someone has to know. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why I am not a conservative. Why I am not a conservative. In here, we have some very important documents that we need to look at. And from the Constitution of Liberty, in the end of this book, that Frederick Hayek has mentioned something very important. And I believe that this is worth noticed. So we shall take a close look. The new Levita or man society, right? I believe I can fly mail. Muller, mail. Ah, John Sart mail. This has now been true for over a century. And as early as 1855, John sought Mill in a letter to Harriet Taylor, Rome, 15 January 1855. Frederick August Hayek, John Stuart Mill, and Harriet. Their correspondence and subsequent marriage. What? What? Almost all the projects of social reformers of these days are really liberticide. Liberticide. What? I have no idea what is he talking about. But why am I not a conservatist? Okay, we're gonna read this last part and then come go back to the social contract, right? We have to secure that very important book. So at a time when most movements that are thought to be progressive advocate further encroachment on individual liberty. Those who cherish freedom are likely to expend their energies in opposition, encroachment. Ah, this is a very important word, encroachment. And if you don't know, you should know. Encroachment, you can describe the action or process of encroaching or something as encroachment. That is like didn't explain at all. And entering into an area not previously occupied, encroach. What? Oh. Entering to another's property without right or permission, encroaching. Influencing strongly, encroachment.
encroachment,
Encroachment. Crouch. Are you kidding me?
encroachment,
Encroach. Encroachment. Okay. Encroaching. Encroaching. An entry into an area not previously occupied. Encroachment. There we go. Individual in opposition. In this, they find themselves much of the time on the same side as those who habitually resist change. In matters of current politics today, they generally have little choice but to support the conservative parties, but though the position I have tried to define is also often described as conservative, it is very different from that to which this name has been traditionally attached. There is danger in the confused condition which brings the defenders of liberty and the true conservatives together in common opposition to developments which threaten their different ideals equally. It is therefore important to distinguish clearly the position taken here from that which has long been known, perhaps more appropriately as conservatism. Conservatism proper is a legitimate, probably necessary, and certainly widespread attitude of opposition to drastic change. It has since the French Revolution for a century and a half played an important role in European politics. Until the rise of socialism, its opposite was liberalism. There is nothing corresponding to this conflict in the history of the United States because what in Europe was called a liberalism was here the common tradition on which the American polity, American polity had been built. Polity. That's very interesting word. Polity. Are you kidding me?
polity,
Polity. Politics. Polity. A polity is an organized society, such as a nation, city, or church, together with its government and administration. Yeah, la la, had been built. Thus, the defender of the American tradition was a liberal in the European sense. This already existing confusion was made worse by the recent attempt to transplant to America the European type of conservatism, which, being alien to the American tradition, has acquired a somewhat old character, and sometime before this, American radicals and socialists began calling themselves liberals. I will nevertheless continue for the moment to describe as liberal the position which I held and which I believe differs as much from true conservatism as from socialism. Let me say at once, however, that I do so with increasing misgivings, and I shall later have to consider what would be the appropriate name for the Party of Liberty. The reason for this is not only that the term liberal in the United States is the cause of constant misunderstandings today, but also that in Europe, the predominant type of rationalistic liberalism has long been one of the peacemakers of socialism. Let me now state what seems to me the decisive objection to any conservatism with desire to be called such. It is that by its very nature, it cannot offer an alternative to the direction in which we are moving. It may succeed by its resistance to current tendencies in slowing down undesirable developments. But since it does not indicate another direction, it cannot prevent their continuance. It has, for this reason, invariably been the fate of conservatism to be dragged along a path not of its own choosing. The tug of war between conservatives and progressives can only affect the speed, not the direction, of contemporary developments. But though there is need for a break from the vehicle of progress, I personally cannot be content with simply helping to apply the brake. What the liberal must ask, first of all, is not how fast or how far we would move, but where we should move. In fact, he differs much more from the collectivist radical of today than does the conservative. While the last general held merely a mild and a moderate version of the prejudices of this time, the liberal today must more positively oppose some of the basic conceptions which most conservatives share with the socialists. The picture generally given of the relative positions of the three parties does more to obscure than to elucidate. Elucidate Elucidate their true relation. Elucidate. If you elucidate something, you make it clear and easy to understand. Ah, elucidate. That's a very interesting word. But I think we are going to elucidate their true relations. They are usually represented as different positions on a line with the socialists on the left, the conservatives on the right. Hmm. Right, left, right, left, right, left. I am so sick of this right and left thing. This is right and this is left. And it says that they are usually represented as different oppositions on a line with, hi, Dal, on a line with the socialists on the left. Socialist on the left and the conservatives on the right. Conservatives on the right, and the liberals somewhere in the middle. Nothing could be more misleading. If you want a diagram, it would be more appropriate to arrange them in a triangle, with the conservatives occupying one corner, with the socialist pulling toward the second, and the liberal toward the third. So here we have liberals is pulling this way. So we have three directions, right? And that is why such a fucking jerk. Conservatives. Conservatives, my body is pouring to boring to store to Florida man. You have to be okay. You have to be okay. Have to be okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. Conservative, conservative, bitch. Ba, 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 da, da. Conservatives. I am tired of that, and now I am going to do this. Hmm. Did I miss something? I think it's probably, is it this part? Did we miss something? Because there was the clearly a thing that was mentioned before. I think he get into that. A Freeman's library. A Freeman's library. Yes, I was looking for that. Freeman's library. Let me find that. Library. Clear Lake. Mills. Mrs. Institution. 550 books on economics and politics, old and new. from the point of view of an Austro libertarian. Hetzlet wrote it because he believed in books and ideas and wanted to share. Did an incredible thing with this book. Ah, interesting. Where can we find this book? Can we find this book somewhere? The Best of the Freeman's Liberty Foundation for Economics. 550, published by D. Van Nostrand Co. 1956. The book contained 550 titles on the philosophy of liberty, conserving the Freeman's Library. Oh my God, I'm gonna wet myself. Oh, I'm gonna wet myself. Oh, please, 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 please. The Free Man's Library, a descriptive and critical biography by Henry Hazlitt. 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 New York, London, Toronto. Let's go. Jersey, New Jersey, Princeton. All these places. Oh my God. This was the places that was on the liberal side of the world. But now we don't know. Contents, introduction, acknowledgement, arrangement, and abbreviations, individualism in politics and economics, the Freeman's Library. Okay, well, let's go. John Locke. Freedom of man under government is to have a standing rule to live by, common to everyone of that society, and made by the legislative power vested in it. A liberty to follow my own will in all things, when the rule prescribes not, and not to be subject to the inconstant, uncertain, unknown, arbitrary will of another man. That is the core essence. And here we have David Hume. It is seldom that liberty of any kind is lost all at once. It is seldom that liberty of any kind is lost all at once. What does that mean? We don't understand, but keep going. Adam Smith, the common people of England, so jealous of their liberty, but like the common people of most other countries, never rightly understanding wherein it consists. Adam Smith, you were a sneaky bastard. The people never give up their liberties, but under some delusion. Edmund Burke, that I believe is the Whigs. Yes, the old Whigs. Is he? Okay. Edmund Burke. Okay. The worst of a state in the long run is the worst of the individuals composing it. A state which drafts its men in order that they may be more docile instrument docile instruments in its hands, even for beneficial purposes, will find that with small men no great thing can really be accomplished, and that the perfection of machinery to which it has sacrificed everything will in the end avail it nothing. For what of the vital power which, in order that the machine might work more smoothly, it has preferred to banish? Well, here John Sart Mill had said something, and there's this word that we don't know about. It's called
docile,
docile. Do you know that word? Docile. We have no idea. A person or animal that is docile is quiet, not aggressive, and easily controlled. Docile. Some people are like that in some countries. Docile, docile, obedient children. 易管教的、顺从的孩子们. Oh, that's the wet dream of dictators. Docility, her docility had surprised him. 她的顺从让他吃惊. Oh, wow. Tame and docile. Docile body. 温顺的身体. DNA docile. Are you kidding me? Okay, well, no. If it's not, let's get back to not that one, but here. Okay, docile. John Stuart Mill. Introduction. This book is a descriptive and critical bibliography of works on the philosophy of individualism. I have applied the term individualism in a broad sense. The bibliography includes books which explain the process and advantages of free trade, free enterprise, and free markets, which recognize the evils of excessive state power and which champion the cause of individual freedom of worship, speech, and thought. Such and which champion the cause of individual freedom of worship, speech, and thought. Such a compilation seemed to me to be increasingly urgent because so few writers and speakers on public questions today reveal any idea of the wealth, depth, and breadth of the literal truth of freedom. What threatens us today is not merely the outright totalitarian philosophies of fascism and communism, but the increasing drift of thought in the totalitarian direction. Many people today who complacently think of themselves as middle of the roaders have no conception of the extent to which they have already taken over socialists, and collectivists assumptions which, if logically followed out, must inevitably carry us further and further down to totalitarian road. Totalitarian road. One of the crowning ironies of the present era, in fact, is that it is precisely, especially in America, the people who flatteringly refer to themselves as liberals who have forgotten or repudiated the essence of the true liberal tradition. The typical butts of their ridicule are such writers as Adam Smith, Bastiat, Cobden. Wait. The typical. Okay, well, here we are. Cobden, the Manchester School, and Herbert Spencer. Whatever errors any of these writers may have been guilty of individually, they were among the chief architects of true liberalism. Yet, our modern progressive now refer to this whole philosophy contemptuously as laissez-faire. 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 The present, they present a grotesque cari- character, grotesque character of it in order to refute it to their own satisfaction, and then go on to advocate more and more governmental power, more centralization of government in Washington, fewer and fewer powers for the states or localities, more and more power for the president, more and more discretionary power for an appointed bureaucracy, and less power for Congress, which is usually ridiculed by our self styled liberals and given to understand that its sole function is to support the president. In other words, to act as a rubber stamp. And none of these groups seem to recognize that they differ from the totalitarians only in that the totalitarians want unlimited government power, complete centralization, unlimited power in the president or leader, and no legislature at all except as window dressing or as sycophants to proclaim the greatness of the leader. Okay, sycophants. Is that the right way to read this word? We have no idea. That's when sycophants. 马屁精. Why you laugh? It's a very serious position in the society. Sycophants. Are you kidding me? Sycophants?
sycophant,
Sycophant. Ah, you are such a sycophant. A sycophant is a person who behaves in a sycophantic way. Well, that is not really giving any definition to the sycophant. A person who tries to please someone in order to gain a personal advantage. Please someone in order to gain a personal advantage. Sycophants. Please someone. Interesting. I don't know, man. This is not sycophants. Sycophants. Oh, man. Or as sycophants to proclaim the greatness of the leader. This present day reversal of the traditional vocabulary in itself sets up great obstacles to the compilation of a bibliography of freedom. But these difficulties and obstacles go much further, of course, than those created by a reversal in the popular meaning of the word liberalism. Oh, liberty! Madam Roland. Madam Roland is said to have exclaimed as she passed a statue to that goddess on her way to the Gulatin. What crimes are committed in thy name? Oh, what crimes are committed in thy name? Liberty, liberalism, guillotine. Looking at the world today, tempted. We are tempted to stress the intellectual crimes committed in the name of liberty as much as the moral crimes. Intellectual crimes. Wow. That is very, very. What are you talking about? Say it again. I am talking about the book. I'm reading it actually. Looking at the world today, we are tempted to stress the intellectual crimes committed in the name of liberty as much as the moral crimes. Never were men more ardent in defense of liberty than they are today, but never were they more diverse concepts of what constitutes true liberty. Many of today's writers who are most eloquent in their arguments for liberty, in fact, preach philosophies that would destroy it. In fact, preach philosophies that would destroy it. It seems to be typical of the books of our intelligentsia to praise one kind of liberty increasingly, while disparaging, or ridiculing another kind. The liberty that they so rightly praised is the liberty of thought and expression. But the liberty that they so foolishly denounce is economic liberty. They dismiss this contemptuously as laissez faire, a phrase, as I have already pointed out, which they almost always use in a merely invidious rather than in any seriously descriptive sense. In fact, no literature is more soaked in semiotics than that concerning freedom. Freedom and liberty are the horrific terms for the liberties that the particular writer is defending. Laissez faire or license are the disparaging term for the liberties he is decrying. Okay, there are two words that we need to learn today. The first one being
disparaging,
disparaging. It's a very heavy word. If you disparaging about someone or something or make disparaging comments about them, you have things which show that you do not have a good opinion of them. Disparaging. Disparaging. Okay. And there's another word, decrying. Disparaging and decrying. What a sister of words. Decrying.
dec-
Decrying. Yeah? Decry. Decrying. If someone decries an idea or action, they criticize it strongly. Oh, decry. 不要哭, decry. Decrying. Strong. They criticize it strongly. So, liberties, he is decrying. Or license are the disparaging terms for the liberties he is decrying. Unfortunately, the authors who have fallen into this practice include some of the finest minds of our generation. I think particularly of Bertrand Russell and the late Morris Cohen. Such writers seem to me to be, at least in part, reflecting an occupational bias. Being writers and thinkers, they are acutely aware of the importance of liberty of writing and thinking, but they seem to attach scent value to economic liberty because they think of it not as applying to themselves but to businessmen. Oh, scent. Interesting. So, the liberty,
scant,
the freedom of speech and expression is not the complete freedom if there is no freedom of economy. Yes?
Scant.
Scant 不足的. Okay, you use scant to indicate that there is very little of something or not as much of something as three should be. There should be scant. She began to berate the police for paying scant attention to the thief from her car. Scant, very scant. 不够嘛 scant, is it? Yeah? Scant. Work hesitant, hastily or carelessly. Deal with inadequately and superficially. Scant. Attach scant value to economic liberty because they think of it not, not, because they think of it not as applying to themselves but to businessmen. Such a judgment may be uncharitable. May be uncharitable. Such a judgment may be uncharitable. But it is certainly fair to say that they misprize economic liberty because, in spite of their brilliance in some directions, they lack of knowledge or understanding to recognize that when economic liberties are abridged or destroyed, all other liberties are abridged or destroyed wisdom. Well, power over a man's substance, as Alexander Hamilton reminded us, is power over his will. And it and if we wish to more modern authority, we can quote no less a one than Leon Tolstoy. Tolstoy, the colleague of Lenin, who in 1937, in a moment of candor, pointed out clearly that in a country where the sole employer is the state, opposition means death by slow starvation. The old principle, who does not work shall not eat, has been replaced by a new one, who does not obey shall not eat. Wow! That is very, very interesting. 正能量,真理,帮帮帮. Okay, well, thank you. We are reading this book called The Free Man's Liberty. No, I'm sorry. Free Man's Library. This is, I think, a very, very interesting book that we are just start reading right after the Constitution of Liberty. We had finished reading for the past 2 months. In the past 2 months, we read the Constitution of Liberty and we have learned a lot from it. And in that book, actually, Friedrich Hayek, in the end, mentioned this book that to be the all the collection works of liberalism, and to be more specific, individualism as a collection of work is different from Constitution of Liberty because it's dealing with the different approach, right? To preserve a liberty, to preserve liberty, to further the work of liberalism. I think in Hayek's work, he is more on the side of analyzing and try to make sense of the movement and all these we would say the points he wanted to stress in the way in the development of liberalism throughout the history. And um, I would have to say it's a very good work. And even though some parts that I find very hard to digest, it's not hard to understand. It just take times for you to really to understand it well, because there are a lot of sentences that is way long, and the thinking of him, I thought, could be easier if I don't know, like he said in the beginning, the work that he put there is already very good, but I had to say it could be better if he has a better way to express it, right? And that that work is is part of the work, right? And this one is it's kind of like a parallel works on the direction of liberalism. And here, this is the introduction, and usually in the introduction, the author will talk about the most important issues that he wanted to stress in this work. And here we have already find out that in a liberalism, there are two things that is very important, right? One is the freedom of speech and expression, right? You have to have the right to express your ideas, right? And to have your own opinions. It's the freedom of expression and speech. And the other is very important, is the freedom of economies, the freedom of economies, the freedom of economies. I think that is the right term. Where if you don't have a like a your you don't have if you don't have your own economy, or as to say, if you don't have money, right? The substances that you need. If you don't have the money, you don't have the power to express yourself, right? So here, Alexander Hamilton that said, power over a man's subsistence is power over his will. So some of the writers, the author criticized that has neglected the value to economic liberty. Economic liberty, such an important concept. That liberty is not just the freedom of speech, but also economic liberty. What is economic liberty? That we will have to further understand. We have to understand the way, my baby. Freedom, 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 freedom of two very important things. I think it is economics, economics, economics. Economics and opinion. Opinion expression. It's the freedom of speech, isn't it? Economics, economics, and freedom of speech. Opinion and expression. Opinion and expression. Speech, isn't it? Yeah. Freedom of speech. So here we have two things: the liberty, the two very important things. One is the subsistence of a man. Another is the ideology, or the is one is the material, another is the intellectual, right? So the liberty is not just uh, one part, as the freedom of speech. You have to have money to have the ability to be heard, right? So the economy is very important. There we have the issues with the a lot of authorities that by limiting your ability in economy, they are limiting um, your liberty of speech, opinion, and the expression, right? So it's very obvious. Um, no further explanation. Let's just keep going. Such a judgment may be uncharitable, but it is certainly fair to say that they misprize economic liberty because, in spite of their brilliance in some directions, they lack the knowledge or understanding to recognize that when economic liberty are abridged or destroyed, all other liberties are abridged or destroyed wisdom. Man, such an important thing. So, we have to find out.
Abridged.
Abridged. An abridged book or play has been made shorter by removing some parts of it. Abridged. Ah, interesting. Shorter. I made shorter. Used of text shortened by condensing or rewriting, abridged. Well, you know, and if we wish a more modern authority, we can quote no less a man that Leon Tolstoy, the colleague of Lenin, who in 1937, in a moment of candor, pointed out clearly that Mhm. clearly that now who does not obey shall not eat.
Candor.
Candor, 坦率, moment of candor. Okay. Liberty is a whole, and to deny economic liberty is finally to destroy all liberty. Socialism is irreconcilable, irreconcilable, irreconcilable. Man, we need to understand irreconcilable with freedom, socialism. Let's take a look. Really?
Irreconcilable.
Irreconcilable. Thank you very much. Socialism is irreconcilable with freedom. This is the lesson that most of our modern philosophers and literatures have yet to learn. I write all this to explain why certain books, which some readers might expect to find in this compilation, will not be found here. They may say some eloquent and even true things about liberty, but their net influence is not on the side of liberty. The test I have tried to apply here is whether any book, regardless of the reservations I may personally have on the position is takes on this issue or that, is still on net balance on the side of true liberty. Interesting. I have long contemplated a compilation like the present one, but I kept postponing the task because it seems too formidable. Too formidable. My hesitation. Okay, what is too formidable? Let's take a look. Too formidable?
Formidable.
Oh, formidable. Oh, it's so scary. Yeah. If you describe something or someone as formidable, you mean that you feel slightly frightened by them because they are very great and impressive. Formidable. Oh, very good. My hesitation was broken at last when a friend informed me of the existence of a 95-page pamphlet published by the Individualist Bookshop of London in 1927, which might be the kind of bibliography I had in mind. I immediately sent to London for this book. Immediately sent to London for this book, and quite as promptly received a copy from Miss Marjorie Franklin, General Secretary of the Society for Individual Freedom. Miss Franklin warned me, however, that not only had the pamphlet being long out of print, but that I was getting a precious file copy. Oh, I read this pamphlet with satisfaction and delight. If it could not be republished simply as it stood, it was at least the ideal nucleus to build around. To build around. It was both scholarly and penetrating. Scholarly and penetrating. Its standards of selection were at once discriminating and Catholic. Catholic. Huh. Its judgments were sound and it was written with charm. Hmm, interesting. It was both scholarly and penetrating. Scholarly and penetrating. Its standards of selection were at once discriminating and Catholic. Were at once. The pamphlet was anonymous, but I learned by inquiry that it had been prepared by Professor W.H. Hutt, the British economist, now Dean of the Faculty of Commerce at the University of Cape Town, South Africa. Professor Hutt informed me in correspondence, however, that while he was responsible for the greater part of the pamphlet, he did everything in collaboration with the late Francis W. Hurst, the well-known British liberal and the former editor of the London Economist. And if there is any acknowledgement in the preface, his name should be mentioned as well as mine. What? This compilation and discussion for the individualist bookshop had only one major defect. It was more than a quarter of a century old, but this defect, it seemed to me at first, could very easily be remedied. It would simply be necessary to drop one or two score of its 166 entries because they were books now suspended, obsolete or suspended, to shorten the comments on some of the rest, and to add a score or two of entries to cover the important libertarian books that had been published in the nearly 30 years since 1927. The work of elimination proved no more difficult than I had supposed, but the work of addition took on a fair different aspect. I was surprised to find, for example, that even some of the classics of freedom and individualism, the relevant works, say, of Milton, Montesquieu, Burke, the Tocqueville, and the Lord Acton, had been omitted. Had been omitted. These gaps were, of course, easily filled much more formidable was the task of selecting from the mass of books published since 1927. This raised many problems. I will expend it on only one by way of illustration. This was the problem of whether to include or exclude the more important works that have appeared in the last quarter century, denouncing the immorality or warning against the internal or external perils of communism. Perils of communism. Perils? What is perils? Do you understand? I have no idea. Let's learn. Perils. Perils.
Perils.
Perils are great danger. Perils. Perils. Well, perils. 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 Peril. Peril.
Perils.
Peril. A great danger. Great danger. Peril. Conservatives, socialists, and liberals. Do you speak Chinese? Oh, do you speak Chinese? Do I speak Chinese? Do I? Do I? Do I? Perils 极大危险 Perils. Interesting. Of communism. The hot pamphlet had been mainly devoted to books expounding the positive philosophy of freedom and individualism, yet it had freely listed the books primarily critical of socialism on the same principle that was every reason for including the books critical of communism. The two terms were used by Karl Marx, in fact, interchangeably. Interchangeably, communist and the socialist. Yeah. The Russian communists still call their domain the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Communism is not merely the logical and inevitable end product of socialism, it is also another name for a socialism that is really complete. That is really complete. We must subscribe, in short, to the definition of Bernard Shaw that a communist is nothing but a socialist with the courage of his conviction. With the courage of his conviction. Wow. Yet, interesting. Are you kidding me? No, I am not kidding you, my friend. What? What? Are you crazy? No, I'm not. Yet the decision to add the leading anti communist books not only swelled the dimensions of this bibliography, but presented a problem of another kind. The authors who attack socialism have generally based their criticism on the explicit premises of a free, competitive, private enterprise. But probably a good half of the books of the last quarter century which attack communism do so on the basis of socialist assumptions. They attack Russian communism as a betrayal of true socialism. The works of author Kostler are an outstanding example. They attack even Stalinism as a betrayal of true Leninism. In fact, Most of the best known anti communist books, including some that are admirable in other respects, attack the end product without seeming to realize that it is socialist ideals that inevitably create this end product. The authors of these books attack the despotism in Russia, for example, without recognizing that you cannot carry out the concern centralized economic planning of socialism without the despotism. They attack the communist suppression of freedom of speech and thought without recognizing that once you give government complete power over jobs and employment, the power to promote or demote, to hire or fire, to say, in short, whether a man is to live or starve. You, at the same time, give government complete power to control or suppress speech and thought. They fail to recognize that in prescribing the means, they are prescribing the end. They fail to recognize that the immorality and the intellectual and spiritual suppression that they denounce flow inevitably out of the centralized economic planning and governmental omnipotence that they applaud. Yet, some anti communist books of disillusioned communists who are still socialists or planners are among the most eloquent, eloquent and powerful denunciations that have yet been written on the end products of communism. I have therefore decided to include them, often accompanied by a warning against acceptance of their premises. Acceptance of their premises. The decision to include anti communist volumes, as I have indicated, created as many problems as it solved. It substantially increased the length of this book. I soon found that by adding one book after another to my list, I have raised the number of entries from 166 in the original hot by bibliography, notwithstanding my numerous omissions from it, to a new total of more than 550. As a result of these inclusions, other decisions were forced upon me. My original purpose had been to offer my own judgments of all the works included, except when I was satisfied with those given in the hot pamphlet. But as my idea expanded concerning the volume that ought to be included, I was forced by sheer growth of number to fall back in many cases. As the reader will see on the judgment of others, this decision was forced for a double reason. It was a impracticable, as it would have been supererogatory to read through from cover to cover each of the 400 or so additional volumes listed in order to write a half dozen lines about it. Interesting.
supererogatory,
Supererogatory 多余的职责以外的 supererogatory
supererogatory,
supererogatory supererogatory. Which country are you from? I am from Newtopia. Newtopia. Thank you. Supererogatory, performed to an extent exceeding that required or accepted. expected 额外的。Being supererogatory to read through from cover to cover each of the 400 or so additional volumes listed in order to write a half dozen lines about it. I find, in addition, that even where I had read a substantial part of a book, or even where I had read it through, but years ago, my present memory did not leave me with sufficient confidence in my own judgment of it. In these cases, I have fallen back upon critics whose judgments seem to me to deserve confidence, or writers who have spoken with special authority or justness on the book in question. In some cases, I have also added such judgment in the hope of reinforcing my own. By following this electric procedure, I have, of course, lost advantages might have occurred in the following compilation from a completely uniform style and a uniform standard of judgment. But such a disadvantage, it seems to me, is more than compensated by greater comprehensiveness that I could otherwise have achieved. And I early decided that the application of a uniform standard was, in any case, next to impossible. The reader will find in the following compilation books of very different weights. He will find the works of Locke and Adam Smith and Mill cheek by jowl, with modern books just out last year. Cheek by jowl. He still find the works of the great pioneers and trailblazers next to popularizations written mainly for beginners. I do not know how this kind of heterogeneous mixture can be avoided if this book is to fulfill the functions for which it is designed. For it is designed to guide the reader to merely to the great classics on liberty and individualism, but to introductory works. Ah, a further work should be said here regarding the standard I have applied in deciding whether or not a given work should be included in this compilation. I already see myself being bottomholed occasionally by some angry readers who asks, "Why on earth do you include Pumpernickel's book in your bibliography? Don't you know that on page 155 he writes this outrageous sentence?" Outrageous sentence. Okay. And then my questionnaire will probably quote or misquote some pronouncement that I did not at all feel like defending, in an effort to answer as many possible of such objections in advance. I should like to say here that the inclusion of a book in this bibliography certainly does not imply that I myself subscribe to every doctrine or sentence in that book, or that I think very opinion it encount in enunciates is an essential part of the libertarian or individualist tradition. What inclusion does imply is that, in my judgment, the book, to repeat what I have said earlier, makes on net balance a factual or theoretical contribution to the philosophy of individualism, and that at least some readers may derive from it a fuller understanding of that philosophy. The inclusion of any book in this list, in brief, implies recommendation. Therefore, with few expectations, I have confined myself to making or quoting comments which emphasize the merits of a book rather than its defects. A premier, for example, ably may ably serve its modest purpose without necessarily constituting a major contribution to the subject with which it deals. A book may contain, in parts, collectivist or confused thinking and still be one from which a student of liberty could greatly profit. In my comments, therefore, I have tried to keep reservations, misgivings, and objections to a minimum. Nor is the reader to take the amount of space devoted to the discussion of any book as a necessary measure of my own judgment regarding its relative merit or importance. A classic may be so well known, and there may be so many sources from which a reader can learn about it, that a few lines of comment may be sufficient for the purpose of this bibliography. Another work, less meritorious, less meritorious and less important, may yet rightly, for some special reason, call for longer comment. But I cannot do better here than to quote with approval a footnote in the hot bibliography on the lengthy entries under the name of Auburn Herbert. It may seem incongruous to give far important space to Audubon Herbert that than to Locke or Bentham, 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 Bentham. But the object of making this list is to put information before the student, and if important matter is neglected or inaccessible, it needs more space than is required by works known by name at least to every schoolboy. By every schoolboy. With some reluctance, however, I have made it a general rule to include pamphlets from my list. No, but notwithstanding the many admirable ones that have appeared in recent years, I have done this not only because their inclusion would have solely this bibliography far beyond useful to mention, but because it is usually so different for readers to obtain pamphlets. Particularly after they have been allowed to fall out of print, that their inclusive might not often merely arouse a curiosity could not be satisfied. I must add, if in fact, that in spite of my general rule against including pamphlets, I have felt simply compelled to make a few exceptions because of their outstanding importance. Pamphlets. This points. Two, one of the insoluble problems of the bibliography is dealing with practically any great subject. He finds it next to impossible to draw sharp boundaries, to be completely consistent, to defend confidently his every inclusion or omission. If he tries to make his list complete, his task becomes a labor of Sisyphus. Labor of Sisyphus. Labor of Sisyphus. That is a way to say that he's using ineffective labor, is making no result by working. Uh, and even if he were to succeed, his list would be unmanageable and useless to most readers. If he makes his bibliography selective, he is inevitably accused of being arbitrary or capricious in his selection. Interesting. Capricious. Capricious. You know what? I don't think so.
capricious,
Capricious. 反复无常的 capricious. What's that? Capricious. Someone who is capricious often changes their mind unexpectedly. Capricious. Oh, unexpectedly. I ba la la ba ba la 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 ba ba. Wow. Dude. Okay, let's see. I become increasingly conscious of this dilemma as my work proceeded. I am aware that for a great number of readers, the more than 550 entries here may seem more bewildering than helpful. The device of making with an asterisk, 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 those books, asterisk, asterisk, those books specially recommended would, I fear, have created more problems than it solved. Therefore, for the sake of those who would appreciate the guidance of a shorter list, I have resorted to a practice that has become a traditional annual event with many American book reviewers and drama and motion picture critics. I have compiled a list of the best 10. This, of course, adds the limitation of an arbitrary number to the other arbitrary factors in selection. A list of the best 10. The best 10. Yes, the top 10. Let's say the top 10. Yeah, the best 10. To make my task just a little less provocative of indignation, I have in fact compiled two lists of 10. First, the 10 best historic classics on liberty and individualism, and secondly, the 10 best contemporary works. Very good. Here is the list of classics in chronological order. Chronological order, which means it's by time, like the first one was published earlier than the second one that published later. So chronologically, we have this top 10 book that now we are going to witness and be aware. Now, here, John Milton, Aeropagitica. Never heard of. John Milton, I heard of. But Aeropagitica, Aeropagitica? Aeropagitica?论出版自由。
Areopagitica,
Areopagitica, Areopagitica. John Milton, 1644年. Okay, well, interesting. Areopagitica, a speech of John, Mr. John Milton for the liberty of unlicensed printing to the Parliament of England is a 1644 prose polemical tract by the English poet and polemical author John Milton opposing licensing and censorship. There you go. That's where we talking. That's what we're talking about. Aeropagotica. Another thing that we are very happy to know that there are such books we didn't know that exist will change our understanding of the world forever. Yes? And nobody can take away your understanding, your knowledge. And if you care that we have zero people online, here we have one person. And oh, we got a call. I don't know. Beatles Lila. Somebody has the 邀请连线啊，申请信息. There's nobody. I don't know why. Blake. Hey, hello, Blake. 申请连线. Um, Blake. Uh-oh. Blake, are you still there? Blake, Lila? Blake, are you still there? And then 连观众. There was a one message, but I can't. It seems you're no longer there. So oh, there's a okay. There's like a 46 minutes of lecture talking about Aeropagitica. What a work. Okay, let's take 3 minutes to understand, to have a broader understanding, okay? John Milton. Man, I didn't know him. John Milton. Aero- Stagnation. Thank you very much. Thank you very much that we didn't know. Now we know. Areopagitica. Are you kidding me? Let's get it. Areopagitica. Full text. Full text archive. Full text archive. John Milton. I'm gonna wet myself again. I'm gonna wet myself again. Here is the one, bum, 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 bum. Ah, what? Are you kidding me, John Milton? Just 10 page? Are you kidding? Commentators have increasingly converged in their accounts of the literary strategy of a speech of John Milton for the liberty of will licensing licensed licensed printing to the Parliament of England, November 1644. Its potency, they agree, stems from Milton's constant disruption of his own lines of agreement. Disruption of his constant disruption of his own lines of argument, his own sequences of image, and his own rhetorical forms. See fish. But at the same time, they have increasingly derived in their accounts. John Stuart Mills argue in thus a recent textbook. Uh, but at the same time, they have increasingly diverged in their accounts of the track's ideological identity to extend that it is now cited in support of flatly opposed oppositions. Thus, a recent textbook on free speech claims that John Stuart Mill's argument in On Liberty merely follows the broad outlines of Areopagitica, Areopagitica, as demonstrated by a series of parallel extract. By contrast, Stanley Fish maintains the Milton has almost no interest at all in the freedom of the press, and even that he does not unambiguously value freedom at all. Milton's alleged denial of free speech then becomes the springboard for the yet more startling proposition that there is no such thing as free speech, and it's a good thing too. What? Fish. The reason for this lack of consensus is that Areopagitica, widely regarded as one of the constitutive texts of modern liberalism, has become a contested site in a large dispute about liberal values. This essay outlined the more controversial feature of the work and then proposes an alternative Republican reading. Are you freaking kidding me? Republican reading? Halfway through, Milton changes the angle of his attack on the licensing order of June 1964, from the no good it can do to the manifest hurt it causes. He focuses on the figure of licensor, with whose prior consent, according to the order, no book, pamphlet, or paper shall from henceforth be printed, bound, stitched, or put to scale. However, Milton complains, I know nothing of the licensor, but that I have his own hand here for his arrogance, who shall warrant me his judgment. The state, sir, replies the senator, but has a quick return. The state shall be my governors, but not my critics. Interesting. Governors, but not my critics. Okay, well, here we have a essay or paper written by somebody, modern somebody, um, clearly Prussia, that he thinks that it is that, right? And we have to maybe put it here as well. I think this is more appropriate. Hmm. Now let's get back to the thing that we supposed to online library of liberty. Whoa, are you kidding me? I am not. There we go. That's the speech of. Oh, it's a speech. Okay. Downloads. Can you? Think so. Related people. King Charles. John Stuart Mill. Quote. Key quotes. Key quotes. What should ye do then? Should ye suppress all this flowery crop of knowledge and new light sprung up and yet springing daily in this city? Should ye set on oligarchy of 20 engrossers over it to bring a famine upon our minds again, when we shall know nothing but what is measured to us by their books are not absolutely dead things, but do contain a potency of life in them to be as active as that soul was whose progeny they are. Nay, they do preserve as in a vial the purest effi- efficacy, effic- efficacy, and extract. Oh my God, you're really unable to read. Efficacy,
Efficacy.
efficacy, and extraction of that living intellect that bred them. I know they are as lively and as vigorous. Treatise on education. Oh, John Milton. John Milton 也有 treatise on education. 太有意思了. On liberty and the subject of woman. Oh, a letter concerning toleration and other writings. John Locke. Toleration and other writings. Baby. Discussing John Milton. Liberty, not licensing. John Milton's Aeropagitica. The life and work of John Milton. There we go. Okay, first of all, let's download this very book. Mhm. Very book. Let's download this very book, first of all, if we can. Can we? Can we? I don't know. Let's try. Oh, Online Library of Liberty, a project of Liberty Found, etc. In cooperation, and John Milton Pegitica. Aeropagitica. The Online Liberty. What? Are you kidding me? It's a 93 page book. It's not a speech, is it? Is it a speech or not? Okay, let's take a look. Table of content, note by AR, Life of Milton. 1. Introduction, analysis, Introduction. Origin of the restriction on printing, the using of books generally. Oh, analysis, okay. The use of books generally, the negative argument against the present order, the positive argument against the order. Conclusion. Aeropagitica, a speech of Milton for the liberty of unlicensed printing to the Parliament of England. Okay, so here I think we have speech a speech of John Milton for the liberty of ba 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 ba. Okay, that was Latin, I guess, or probably Greek, and then it has translated Euripide Hesitide. This is true liberty when free-born men having to advise the public may speak free, which he who can and will deserves high praise. Who neither can nor will may hold his peace. What can be juster in a state than this? Such a freaking good quote. Are you kidding me? What are you, Homer? Interesting. So it's not just a speech, it's the whole work, I guess. Yes? I think so. Oh, there's sites. What? An on they move in perfect phalanx to the Dorian mood of flutes and soft recorders, etc., etc., where Milton has in mind the account in Thucydides of the Spartans advancing at the Battle of Mantinia to the strain of many flute players. Dominant mood is called by Plato the true Hellenic 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 mood. Hellenic Hellenic mood. There is a person. Hmm. Hellenic mood. Is he the Hellenic mood? He's looking for something. Hellenic mood. Oh no, there's a man who's in the Hellenic. Shilan.
Hellenic.
Hellenic mood. Hellenic mood. Okay, so I think we have to understand that this is part of the work that is very important. So we're just gonna put it there in our book. Mm. Well, V64. John Milton. Why is this? Rio. Ariel. Errol. Pagitica. 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 Ariel Pagitica. Ah. Okay, so that was the classical 10 classics, right? The first one. John Locke's Second Treatise of Government. Okay, that is the second one. I believe I don't have it yet. David Hume's essay, Moral, Political, and Literary. Literary. Political and literary. Okay. And Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nation. That is a very something that we need to think about. Edmund Burke works. And Frederick Bastiat, Economic Sophism. Economic Sophism. Interesting. Sophism. Economic Sophism. Alexander the Tocqueville, Democracy in America. John Stuart Mill on Liberty. This we have. Heron Spencer, The Man versus the State. Heron Spencer, interesting. And Lord Acton, Essays on Freedom and Power. Here are the 10 best contemporary works in alphabetical order. Alphabetical order: B.M. Anderson, Economics and the Public Welfare; F.A. Hayek, The Road to Serfdom; F.A. Hayek, Individualism and Economic Order; F.A. Hayek, etc., Capitalists and the Historians. John John Jukes Ordeal by Planning. Ludwig von Mises, Socialism and Analysis. Ludwig von Mises, Human Action. Ooh. Georgia Orwell, 1984. Interesting. 1984. And Lionel Robin, The Great Depression. Wilhelm wrote The Social Crisis of Our Time. The Social Crisis of Our Time. Okay. Well, here Here are the contemporary 10 best. If the reader introduction is such a long way, he's talking about such a long thing. The free the Freeman's Library. The Freeman's Library. Interesting. Wow, 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 wow. Acknowledgement. Okay. Introduction, acknowledgement, and abbreviations. Okay. Here we go. Individualism and politics and economics. What does that mean? What is that supposed to mean? The term individualism was cited by Henry Reeve. Communism. How long, how low, how little are the proud? How indigent the great? Thank you for whatever reason. How indigent the great? What does it mean, indigent? I saw this word before, but I wasn't.
Indigent.
Ah, how indigent. But long before Pope, the Swedish Oxenters had summed up the whole matter in his renowned saying, "Behold, my son, with how little wisdom the world is governed." Behold, my son, behold, my son, with how little wisdom the world is governed. Wow, this is very interesting word. It's actually Swedish Oxterian. Oxterian, the Oxterian. So let's try to figure out what's Oxterian had summed up. Swedish Oxterian. Oxterian, how do you do?
Oxenstiern.
Oxtenstian. Oxtenstian. Swedish Oxtenstian had summed it up. It's an absolute brilliant. Behold, my son, with how little wisdom the world is governed. Damn. But long before Pope, individual in politics and economics. Individualism. The Freeman's Library. Wow. Acton Lord essay on freedom and power. Bacon Press. Oh, okay. Acton. Oh, the history of freedom. Other essays. Blah, 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 blah. Ah, I see. In these pages. Alan C. Bew, social planning, agree. Wait a second. 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 Are you telling me that the list is in the order of alphabetical order? Is that what you're talking about, sir? Are you talking about that? Oh, shit, man. Back James Montgomery. 1993. Damn. Lord Acton. 1947. Wait a second. Benzik, Frederick, and Buddy. FN Principle of Economic Pitman. A textbook intended for the introduction course to provide the simple tools of modern economic analysis. Considerable attention is also given to the effect of government intervention upon a capitalistic system. Interesting. Very good. Very, very, very good. Very, very, very good. Very, very, very good. Good, 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 good. Man, I have to say that this is such a work that deserves everybody's attention. But I don't think everybody has the attention to really get to, you know, it's a very important work. Very, very important. So, what are we going to do is so we are going to actually summon the works and had a com- comparison. So, slowly, chronologically, and here alphabetically. Alphabetically or chronologically, we are the best of all. Freeman's Freeman's Library by Hilton. Here we go. I think, with that being said, we deserve a little break, if we may, and I will play some music for you. That's amazing. Cons- Okay, well, that's about it. And here we are in the reading that I felt that I could do was that Aeropagitica, uh, justice, civil disobedience, Henry, David, David Hume, David Hume, second treatise. Lost my focus. Lost my focus, and I think it's time for us to take a look at the time that it's been 3 hours and almost 4 hours. Wow, that is amazing. And I believe maybe we should stop and to try put our heads on the more practical things at hand, which is the the situation of our financial problems that I find I couldn't find a stable income without pretending to be a foreigner to teach in the kindergartens. I have to say that is a way that the liberty is hard to attain unless I'm economically independent, right? So I think that's a very important issue. Hmm. With that being said, I have to find ways to establish my income stream by work, by teaching, hopefully, maybe performance, and see how that work. I have no idea, but good luck.